With Supernatural at an end, many fans have been growing increasingly excited for the October 11th premiere of The Winchesters. The show is set to follow the adventures of Mary and John Winchester as they uncover the secrets of the supernatural, and it seems like it will be following the basic structure of the original series. Of course, there are some fans who think the show will be missing one essential element: Sam and Dean. The Winchester brothers were the core of Supernatural, and nothing will be the same without them present. The love that those two shared is something that many fans have embraced, and many of the memes about it sum up Sam and Dean's relationship perfectly. 10/10 They forgot their other brother. While Sam and Dean were always a pair, they weren't always aware that there was another brother waiting in the wings. A character that Supernatural forgot about for years, Adam Winchester was secretly the half-brother to the Winchesters, and he quickly found that there was little room in their dynamic for a new addition. After all, despite Sam and Dean putting their lives on the line to save each other time and time again, they both agreed to leave Michael and Adam to rot in the cage. Both seemingly forgot about Adam, which goes to show that their bond isn't just born from blood. After all, they ignored the rest of the blood. 9/10 Both Winchester brothers have some major weaknesses. While the Winchesters always tried to get along and communicate well, they were far from angels. The two would often get into arguments because Sam refused to admit he was wrong, or because Dean refused to actually seek out help whenever he needed it. The brothers tended to have relationship problems, largely because they failed to properly communicate or take accountability for their issues. They were two very different people, and being stuck in a confined space together for so long meant they struggled even more. 8/10 Dean is overprotective of Sam as the older brother. Dean was always determined to keep his brother safe, even if it meant putting his own life at risk. Sam, meanwhile, absolutely hated every instance of it, largely due to the fact that he wanted independence. With Dean acting like an overprotective helicopter parent, Sam was rarely allowed to make his own mistakes. That dynamic was partly why Sam often betrayed Dean. Whenever he was with his brother, he was relegated to the kid sibling role. When Dean was in purgatory or when Sam returned from hell, he never had to worry about being smothered by his well-meaning sibling. 7/10 The brothers never thought they'd retire. Though the show ended with Dean dying young and Sam living a long and happy life, the Winchester brothers never actually expected their fate to be split. Instead, the two thought they would go down together, even if Sam typically wanted a life of his own. The two ended up reflecting their statuses from the beginning of the series, which helped make Supernatural Season 1 even better. After all, though the Winchesters expected to hunt together forever, they were split just like they were at the start. They never could have predicted it, which makes it all the more tragic. 6/10 They die often, of course. Given how many times Sam and Dean died over the course of the show, their relationship with death tended to be somewhat curious. After all, though they would often shrug off injuries like dislocated shoulders or cuts that needed stitches, death meant separation for a time. Still, that was all it really was. Besides Dean's final death, the brothers always managed to claw their way back to each other. Though there were many supernatural characters who died for them, Sam and Dean often overlooked deadly injuries, largely thanks to their own encounters with them. 5/10 They often find themselves in weird situations because they spent decades as hunters. Sam and Dean certainly suffered through some ridiculous situations that practically defined their relationships. After all, one of the best episodes of Supernatural was an episode that saw Dean die over and over again, while the day constantly reset for Sam. The episode made Sam feel considerably closer to his brother and even started to give him a protective streak of his own. Given the fact that Dean was already incredibly overprotective, it made the two even more clingy than they already were, which certainly didn't help them avoid their dependence on each other. The episode also showed just how willing Dean was to go along with whatever it was Sam tried to explain to him. 4/10 they can beat gods but lose to slashers, while Sam and Dean were renowned hunters who managed to kill more creatures than either could count. They weren't infallible. Often, the two were taken down by minor monsters or even normal humans. After all, while they were skilled, they weren't infallible. Though they were able to stand up to archangels and gods, they were usually just normal people with good research skills and access to salt and iron. It's why it is always funny when some of the worst villains in Supernatural happen to be successful despite having few abnormal abilities. Often playing Sam and Dean against each other, they proved that the brothers' relationship wasn't enough to stop a typical horror movie death. 3/10 poor sense of consequence. Many episodes of Supernatural culminated with a scene between Sam and Dean by the Impala, where the two had a frank discussion about whatever monster they encountered that week. Often, they discussed their relationship, Dean being overprotective or Sam wanting a life of his own. At times, the monologues could be funny. After all, Dean emphasizing that Sam going back to his family would tear him apart was as touching as it was somewhat ridiculous. Despite the ridiculousness though, Dean and Sam's relationship was defined by those talks. Besides, many of the best quotes in Supernatural came from Impala scenes, which is why they often stick in the minds of viewers. 2/10 Dean met a tragic ending. The death of Dean was both entirely anticlimactic and painful at the same time. Though the brothers had been through everything together, all it took was one rusty nail to drive them apart for decades. It managed what even God could not and separated Sam and Dean. Still, though it did prove the end of their hunts together, Sam and Dean managed to find peace together in heaven. The brothers couldn't be kept apart long on Earth, and they proved that the same was true in the afterlife. Having found each other, the two were not going to leave again. 1/10 their bond was forged by a poor childhood source. Instagram. A major reason for the state of their relationship when they grew up was their incredibly poor childhood. With a father determined to see them grow up to be hunters, Sam and Dean were often transported from place to place regularly, which was awful for their educations. The fact that Sam was much more bookish than the martial Dean made Sam a disappointment in his father's eyes and often made Dean worry about him. It was the root cause for Dean's overprotectiveness of Sam and why Sam was desperate to